All right, so your name is Jay, right? And
Yes.
what's your producer name?
My producer name, my beat maker name is Khordon Blu.
Oh yeah.
Khordon Blu. I'm trying to think of a new one at the moment, but that just best describes my music. You know, those lush, heavy chords.
Yeah, you got a unique style, man.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Thanks to you.
Yeah, so you've done quite a few lessons with me, like lessons, like one-on-one sessions,
Yeah,
and at least 6 or 7.
definitely at least 6 or 7.
Yeah. And the main reason I wanted to do the interview is because you sent me a link to your beat tape, volume 1. Okay, because this is something that have been doing for so long. I just released beat tapes because it's good for learning how to put together like a release, an album.
Yeah.
And it also allows you as a producer to try different styles and throw it all in that beat tape. And if someone listens to your music, they get a style of who you are as a producer. And so you sent me an email and you're like, hey man, check out this beat tape. And like, man, I was impressed by the branding, by the, how it all looked. And the beats on volume 1, out of all your volumes so far, volume 1 was my favorite. And I told you that in the email there.
Yeah. I like your critical feedback for sure. Yeah, it's hard to realize that the first one was better than the second or third one, but
well,
that's the truth.
Honestly,
sometimes we're fresh, with the first one. So,
like, I've been told that as well. Like some people have said that like number 1 has been like their favorite, maybe just because it's so raw and just like it's just who you are. And then as you start to progress, you kind of start fine tuning. But and then so I just want to mention one other thing is, so again, when we were doing our lessons for the majority, you were always on like the older laptop and it was always giving you problems. Like it was always, struggling. And then later on we looked into, should you get a desktop or should you get a laptop? And really it came down to the desktop is more powerful and better bang for your buck. But, you kind of seem like a person where you would travel sometimes, you'd be out and about. So we decided on a laptop for you, and then you got your laptop, and I'm assuming that it's been pretty good since you got it. Like was that laptop kind of like your turning point where FL Studio now performed better? You were able to, you weren't hindered from your computer.
Yeah. When I got that computer, I was able to buy like synths, like Omnisphere, and start composing, utilizing the music theory instead of just grabbing samples and just, that's awesome sampling. But for once I was able to actually use, my own software, and I didn't know what computer to get. So I probably would have bought something else if it wasn't for, for you. Yeah, for sure. And that computer's been awesome. I also got a desktop. I haven't told you this, but you recommended this desktop too.
Okay.
And I kind of bought it a few months ago, and so I still use the laptop, but I haven't really got a chance to travel and actually use it a lot. So I use it mostly just for DJing and having fun. But it's been an amazing laptop. But yeah, for the record, you recommended this desktop that I'm using every day. So I would say this desktop has been amazing.
Cool.
The laptop is amazing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like when you have a computer that doesn't restrict what you want to create, because I've experienced that, especially in my early years, like my very first computer, I had this computer where I was creating my very first album. It's called We've Only Just Met. And in that album, there's one song that's like 10 minutes long. And actually a really funny story, because I actually got that album mastered professionally, because I was like, it's my first album. I want to get it mastered professionally. And so typically when a mastering engineer masters a song, like they usually think that the song is, anywhere from like 2.5 to like, let's say 4 minutes, that's kind of ballpark that's going to be the price. But this song, I think it's like 10 minutes long, and he didn't realize it. So he ended up mastering it. And then when I went back, like when it was complete, he was like, man, I didn't know, but it was, but yeah, anyway, so on that first album, and I had an old computer, and that song that was 10 minutes long, it was like so heavy, right? And I remember having to up my buffer size like so high. But yeah, when you have a computer that allows you to do what you want to do, is like so powerful. But hey, so like, have you taken any of my courses or anything like that? Or did you just do lessons with me?
I do. Lately, I've been checking in on the website and spending more time in your courses. But yeah, for the most part, we've just done one-on-ones. That's really how I learned is one-on-one. It's personally, so that's been great with you. Yeah, we met a whole bunch online. You even let me have a free lesson once because you had to do it, and I don't know what happened, but you gave me a lot of value, and you didn't even charge me one time. That I really appreciate. I forget the circumstances exactly, but
yeah, I think it was to do with like the laptop.
yeah,
because your other laptop, I think you had 2 video ports, so like you were able to use 2 monitors plus your laptop.
Okay.
I think that was an issue. So you're like, well, because and stuff like that. But then yeah, I kind of felt bad with like the laptop issue there, and then I was like here.
Yeah. So that was, you went over the top there, and just the overall FL Studio. Everybody says it's so simple and so easy a kid could do it, but really I was kind of overwhelmed when I first opened it up. And I can't even say I'd still be with it, to this day. If it wasn't for your help, man.
Did you try other music programs?
No, FL first one. I didn't even think of trying anything else.
Yeah, like when I first started, I was first introduced to FL Studio, and then when I bought like a MIDI keyboard or an audio interface, many times they threw in like Cubase LE or something like that, right? Or sometimes Ableton, and like I was like, well, maybe I want to try these too. And I remember trying them, but then I was like, I'm just wasting time, because it doesn't matter what music program you choose, you have to choose one so that you can learn it and you can get moving.
Sure, for sure. I think it's an issue of do professionals use FL Studio, and that's just ridiculous. There's so many skilled producers that use it, and so that went through my mind. Recently I was like, should I spend some time learning a new program like Pro Tools? Yeah. And I was like, this is just going to burn me out. I'm going to lose all my inspiration.
Yeah.
If I just spend my time doing this instead of making music. So you just got to keep going, keep the momentum building, especially when you're new,
Mm-hmm. And also the Pro Tools route is also, more expensive.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know that those systems, like they're meant to integrate with like special cards and stuff you can put in your computer so that you can run it like extremely well. It's meant for like, video, like movies and stuff, right? Whereas like, man, FL Studio, dude, you can make such amazing music so fast, lifetime free updates. I'm so happy I've found them, and that I was able to continue with them, because like I always say, that the people who are getting into FL Studio nowadays, man, it has come such a far way. Like the interface, it's all like vectoral. So like if you want to like resize everything, it's all just like super high quality on the eyes and lifetime free updates, and they keep updating it. So
no complaints. It's when I open it up, it's just colorful and fun. I just love it. I love FL Studio, man.
Yeah. So hey, so one thing I want to say is, as we were doing our lessons, like I always felt that you were determined and that you wanted to push through and become like a producer and make your own beats and stuff. But honestly, like as we were doing our lessons, I was never really 100% sure, like if you were kind of getting it, or because we did a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
But when you sent me the beat tape, and again with the branding, you had your website set up, and the beat tape itself, man, I was just like, man, like I am so impressed with you. I was like, you have come such a far way.
I appreciate that, man. I'm still trying, but.
Oh, well, okay, so this is how like production works, even for myself. So like, the first 4 or 5 years are like, you're trying to learn how the software works. And then you're trying to figure out, who are you? What's your own style? And then now it's about branding, marketing, and getting yourself out there. So everyone's going to go through that stage. And so you've passed that learning curve, which is the hardest thing to do. Right? Like,
definitely.
It's, you have to stick with it. You have to put hours in, like, inside your music program, you're clicking around, doing whatever. And when you get stuck, you search for, on YouTube, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to stay in there.
Definitely. It's a challenge. Got to stay motivated. I feel like I was going to say something just about FL Studio, but overall, I just wouldn't have been able to keep going through with this if it wasn't for you. But
thanks, man.
Yeah, FL Studio. Anyway, what you said about my beat tape really means a lot. I don't really have many people to give me critical feedback. My friends will just like my music, and just because I'm their friend, I feel like,
Right.
and I don't really want to give my music, to my family to listen to, because you need that critical feedback. Someone who's just wants to see progress.
Yeah. Another thing to mention with that is, so there's actually a verse in the Bible, man, and it says, "Don't cast your pearls to swine." And so what that's saying is like, your music is something that you kind of do keep really close to you. And if you share it with the wrong people, sometimes you are going to get, the feedback that you're not wanting. But that doesn't mean that it's good feedback.
Yeah.
Right. So, so all I'm saying is, yeah, you can be asking for advice, or, if you put it out there, get reviews or whatever. But again, at the end of the day, music is what you're creating. And sometimes it takes time to learn to make good music.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you're putting it out there and people are, saying negative things, that can kind of, make you not really make you motivated, and, not, make you not want to make music.
Yeah.
So always be a little bit careful. Like, obviously don't just give it to people who are going to tell you good things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
and thank you for, doing lessons with me and supporting me as I've been, trying to build like a business around teaching music production and FL Studio as, my music program of choice.
Sure, man. If I could, I would do lessons, every day, but at least every week. I'm going to get back into it for sure. I haven't done one in a few weeks with you, so.
Yeah, well, not quite in a while, because like I said, you gave me that beat, you sent me the beat tape, and I was just like, man, like, because I remember when you first started, like, it was, you're all over the place, and then all of a sudden the beat tape came together, man. The branding, the website, the actual beats themselves were very unique, right? And that's what I'm always trying to pass on to you guys as students, is just like, man, don't follow the trends. Like, you can learn from the trends. Like, you can understand, what are they doing in their drum loops? What are they doing for their melodies? Like, okay, that's a cool technique, but everything eventually fades away. Like, for example, dubstep is probably like the best example. Yeah, when I was in high school, dubstep was like huge, like especially in my later years. And, it was kind of like just a small audience that like just loved it though, especially in like the club scene, all that stuff. But dubstep really never made it to like the radio. More like mainstream. And then now dubstep's gone. So everyone who has been learning dubstep all these years, trying to perfect it and, build their brand around dubstep, well, now you're making music in like a faded market. Whereas your approach and my approach is just to make what you like. Like, if you listen to one of my beat tapes, there could be dance, there could be hip hop, like urban beats, or like, they're just beats. They're my own style. And that's what I got when I listened to your beat tape. I was like, man, nice. Like, exactly. Like, you're doing your own thing. You're going to have fun with it. And as you continue, you could be doing this for 10, 20 years, and you just kind of build a following slowly. And you just do your thing with it.
For sure. Yeah. I just assume, I'm going to improve, and everything I put out isn't going to be gold. It's not, I'm going to suck for a while, basically. So I just tell myself that, and hopefully every beat tape gets a little better. There are a lot of errors with my music. My instrumentals are not mixed perfectly. There's some things that I should have edited, but I kind of got lazy because I don't, have a big audience right now. So I just like to move on to the next track, as soon as possible, open something up new every day. Because finishing beats just kind of gets heavy sometimes,
It does, man. It's very tiring, isn't it? So making the beat is the fun part, and then mixing, for me, is hard and it's tiring. Arrangement is very tiring, and mastering is fun to me. I like mastering, but yeah, like the whole process. And then there's even kind of like another process on top of that, is you being the producer, giving the final say to that track and being like, yes, I think this is complete. It's ready to release. Like, that in itself is very tiring itself. And then if you are taking the beat tape approach, now it's not just like one beat. Now it could be like 6 beats, and you're trying to figure out what order should they go in.
Yeah.
You listen to the volume from each track, right? And you're just kind of like, ooh, this one's a little bit louder than that one. You're trying to fine tune it on a different level. So not so much from like a production standpoint, you're more listening to it from like a listener standpoint. And yeah, so just like you said, man, like, yes, releasing music is very tiring. And just to share with you, so in my later years of production, like I've slowed down quite heavily on my own music. Like I still dabble and like play chords, make drum loops, and I'm always staying involved with it. But in terms of, because I've released 8 beat tapes, and my first 5 or 6, like I think I released them in like, maybe 3 or 4 years. So I did them very, very fast. But as life went on, I was working a job like as an electrician. So, I only had so much time. And then I was also trying to figure out how can I make money in the music industry, right? So so now, like, I've released beat tape 7, beat tape 8, and I've been working on 9 for like I think a year, maybe a year and a half. So I will be releasing beat tapes again, and I'm still working on it every once in a while, but just like you said, yeah, like music is tiring, and I don't think people understand that when you're first getting involved with it, because it's like a second job. If you're treating it as such, especially if you have a real job. So, okay, here. So I got a question for you. So what are you learning right now, and like, and what style of music do you create? You're kind of more when I first met you, you were very sample based heavy, but these beat tapes were very composition oriented, very chords, and I liked your chords, like very unique style, man. Very cool.
Yeah, it's funny how when you make music, your style, I think, matures and changes. I listen to music I didn't listen to before because I try to dissect it. I'll listen to pop music now. I'll listen to anything really and try to figure out what they're doing. And so, yeah, I think your style kind of matures. And I specifically heard one beat tape from an artist, and it's as if he like invented this genre. I've never heard it. It was like in between like soulful sample and like kind of double time trap, and it was just amazing. I've been trying to duplicate that ever since. So it's I was never a fan of trap or that sound, those hi-hats. I've always hated that, but there's many different types of that type of sound, that modern sound. It's not all like you. I could call myself I don't listen to just anything. There has to be a message, and it can't just be something I would never want my kids to listen to. So I don't really support just any genre. So I've always hated that genre personally, but you can make a lighter, more airy version of whatever genre there is. That makes sense.
Every single genre has its classic hits, and those classic hits will continue to stay for years and years and years and years, right? Just because it as a whole by itself is a good song. It doesn't matter about the genre that it's in. It just matters that song is a really good like song. Like, for example, there's a song by like System of a Down. I forget the name of it, but like, again, when I was in high school, like this song was popular, and it was like not my style of music at all. Like I always like beats, like, growing up, maybe like I listened to like Bone Thugs and like Tupac and like Biggie and stuff like that. And like System of a Down was like, quite heavy guitars and stuff like that. And that's just not my enjoyment for music. However, if we talk about like a band like, and you can look these guys up, like there's like Goo Goo Dolls or like Matchbox 20, those guys are all like guitars and stuff, but I really like their music.
Yeah, me too. Actually, that's funny. I don't like that genre, but there's something about that time frame. Those guys, I know who you mean. Yeah, that genre, I like that music too.
Yes, but I just want to say, like, so for example, like System of a Down, like they're a different genre, but that one song came out and it became popular like within like my group of friends, within like the high school, all that stuff. So what I'm trying to say is, a classic song is a classic song. It doesn't matter like genre.
You're right.
And so that's what I always try to kind of get across. Like, when you're making your music, it's all about, is that song good? Like, do you enjoy it? Like, can anybody like this song?
Sure. Yeah, you got to just stay fresh, stay creating every day. Just try to improve. There's a way of think there's a quote, you know, you can deliberately uh, improve your craft. You know, just because you're in the studio making music doesn't mean you're really getting better. You got to challenge yourself somehow. Sometimes it's not so clear how you challenge yourself, but you got to try new things and see what works, see what sound you get.
So, what are like your goals with music? Have you thought that far? And it's important just to kind of think about it. You're never going to have the answer because different things will pop up. You know, you might work with someone might find you, like who knows?
Yeah.
But it's kind of generally nice to just have a general idea. Like,
For sure. No, I think about it every day. Yeah, I can't really say I've gotten to the point where I'm making, you know, full-time income or anything with music, but it is one of my goals. I would like to not to have to depend on it to keep, you know, keep the music authentic, because like you said, doing this as a real job, depending on it,
yeah,
I know it's gonna become stressful, and I'm gonna lose that spark. But that's reality. You know, if this is what you want to do, you got to find a way. Like even one of my favorite producers in Brooklyn, it's just a struggle for him to, you know, he's got to put out posts saying, buy this record, you know, support me. Like you're one of the best producers in the game. You don't got to say that, do you? But yeah, everybody's like, it's harder to make a buck, I think, in music these days, evidently. But
yeah. And so just to mention on that, like, so, you know, for myself, like I have tried to jump into different industries to make money. Right. So again, I was an electrician for 10 years, and just recently I hopefully quit full time. And I've been doing this music and education full time for like probably the past 6 months, almost a year now. But as an electrician, my goal was to save up for a home and make that a rental property. So, you know, that's another source of income that comes my way to help offset the stress of making only money from music. So that as I sit here and I make music, you know, it's on my time and I have the time to do it. And as I was an electrician, it was always that battle of after work, you know, so first of all, you know, as an electrician or anyone in construction, early days, right? So 7 a.m, you know, you're there, and really, like some bosses want you there 6:45, or you know, they want to make sure you're ready. So then, you know, you work your 8-hour day, and then again, that's just like a typical construction job. Sometimes if the job's getting into overtime, then you're working later, and if you're working out of town, then many times it's like 2 weeks on, 1 week off, 10-hour days. So it's like, where do you fit music in on this kind of schedule, right?
yeah, it's everybody's got their own schedule, and I really don't want to have to resort to it as a hobby, but you know, much respect to people that can do that. Because I'm just worried about. I'm just one of those people that I like to dump myself into it. You probably know that by now. I like to do whatever I'm doing full time, especially right now because there's not much else going on. So you know, honestly, I'm just thinking if this is something I want to dump all my energy into, or if I kind of split my day into. You know, I've already been spending my time in other endeavors, but for a longer term, yeah, I'm seriously considering, you know, doing what I can with music, because I got kind of a late start, and just trying to make up for lost time, I guess you could say. It's not the healthiest way to do things, but
Well, that I think that's an important point to discuss a little further. That's a really good point, because also, so another student and member, his name's Joe, and that's what he said too. Like, so he's around my age. I'm 30 years old, and so yeah, he said, you know,
34, so
he got a late start, and you know, for me, I think my start was pretty early. So I started pretty much right out of high school, um, and yeah, I've just progressed since then. But the other member just said what you said, and you know, they only started maybe a year or two ago, and you know, so they're almost 30 or are 30, and again, like now you're trying to make up for that lost time. And so yeah, you are going to have to put in a lot of work and a lot of effort to get there, but at the same time, don't allow that stress and, you know, to make rash decisions, or you know, decisions that maybe in your heart you wouldn't have really made. You only made them because, you're trying to somehow make it in the industry. So, yeah, like the biggest thing I think is just to really learn your craft, learn your music, become good at your own style. And then, from there, start reaching out if you really want to try to make it in the industry. And I mean, like, try to find your artists, look into, start reading books, start looking into people who maybe are successful in the industry and reach out to them, stuff like that. Again, like, I can't help you in that area because I'm more of the person that I like to work by myself a lot too. If I do collaborations, it is very, very little, or it's very kind of exclusive, where it's like this is going to be special, um,
Yeah.
because collaborating is a huge thing you can do in the industry, right? To make a lot more momentum to your name, because you kind of jump in with their fans, they jump in with your fans, and you kind of start growing, right?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't really gotten to that point, and I'm worried, that my taste is different from everybody else's. Everybody's musical taste is so different, and to say you like something I'm gonna like is just ridiculous to me. So, but people collaborate, people make records, and I'd like to stay and work from home my whole life and make music my whole life like this, but that's sometimes you got to go out and do what you got to do.
Hmm. Yeah, man, that's exactly what I did. So I was an electrician for many years, and then after about like 3 or 4 years, I ended up just like quitting electrical, and I was living at home at the time, and I didn't tell my dad, so I just quit and came home, and he's just like, "What?" Right? So, and then I pursued music for like a year, but then again, it came down to goals. It's like, man, I'm not making money, I'm not moving ahead, and especially, how they say, like, you are like the actual man of the house, whatever, right? So it's like you have to provide for your family, or if you wanted
Yeah.
to eventually have a family, you do got to start planning how are you going to start making money. And then it gets to the point where, is music doing that for you? And many times it isn't, right? Because the music industry is tricky. And I do feel that there's so much money to be made in the music industry, but it's just knowing how to do it, and patience, and one day at a time is all I
Yeah.
can say, man.
You got to use what you have to your advantage. Anybody can start making music and with a computer, but if you have a MIDI already, if you got a good computer, if you have software, you got to leverage what you got. And it's hard to tell. It's hard for somebody else to believe in you making a career out of music. It just sounds ridiculous, especially in my country, in the US. It's like people want to know what you do for a living, how you make money.
Right.
And it's not like that in all parts of the world. But
Nope.
what I want to say is nobody's going to believe in you, especially when it comes to this music. Nobody thinks you got musical talent, so you got to believe in yourself wholeheartedly, man.
Or what happens is many times they support you in the early stages, but 3 years in,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's kind of like, okay, I'm getting tired of listening you talk about this. I see that you're not really progressing. You're not really, but you are, right?
Sure.
And man, like these are things I've had to go through too. And maybe they're not talked about much out there, but it is important that it is talked about, because just for encouragement for someone who is at that stage. Because something I've been realizing more and more as I've been doing online business is there's so many people in the world. Okay, so because there's so many people in the world, like, there is a market for your type of music or for your style. And obviously, I have to be careful in how I say it, because, someone could be thinking that their music is good. Meanwhile, maybe it's not. And I say it's not in a sense of maybe like their chords, their melodies, their editing, their mixing, their master, you know what I mean? Like maybe they just don't have the skills. Maybe they're just not cut out for it, but they could be thinking that they are. But for someone who is determined and, feels that they are progressing and feels that, they do want to jump into this industry, um, Yeah, like so what I'm trying to say is like there's a lot of people, and you can build an audience and you can build a following,
Sure, for sure.
right?
But
So I was gonna say to you, like, so right now I would say for you is you need to kind of keep learning beat making a bit. Okay, right? Like you need to be learning more about like your style, more about you keep practicing your drum loops, keep practicing your melodies, keep practicing the mixing, the mastering. Once you are more confident, which could take a year, could take 2 years, okay? Because it takes time. Every industry, uh, like has different set of skills, right? And I mean industry in the audio industry. So from beat making to arrangement to mixing to mastering, these are all different industries within audio. So once you kind of polish yourself on all sides of those industries, I would say your next step is on your website. You'd want to be starting to build like an email list following. Okay. So, when people sign up with their email, they are interested in you. Otherwise, they wouldn't have signed up. Okay. And so when you have their emails, that's how you can start sending out, videos of you making a beat. And then, if you want to sell your beat tape, whatever you want to do, or, sometimes you can even get away maybe by giving away your music for free and then run off of like donations. And I don't really like that word donations because I kind of always have felt weird with the word donation, like receiving money from somebody as like a donation that supports you. I don't know, like it always kind of feels like like a non-profit, you know what I mean? Kind of like charity to me.
No, you got to make your music that hot enough that people will pay for it, and it's not they're supporting you, but they got to have it. It's so dope that that you're actually helping them. You're supporting them with the music.
Yeah, I got you.
In some ways, I mean, support. If I can get support, obviously I'm grateful. But like I said, like I share the same insight. Yeah, I want to make my music that's so good that I offer value, and people will pay for that value.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody, I was just watching a video the other day. I was feeling unmotivated, and just didn't really feel like making music that day. And I watched a video, and this guy said, even if some of your other areas in your life, maybe it's finance, relationships, whatever, maybe even if they all aren't in order, you have this one thing you can depend on, this one craft that you have been perfecting or working on, day by day. And you can kind of fall back on that. Like, just motivated me that even if your whole life isn't in order, you still have this one thing. For me, it's music that just gives me kind of a little bit of hope. I just kind of improve it every day. And I know someday it'll monetize itself, or maybe it'll come to an end, but at least, I had the best few years of my life,
Sure. And another thing to add on to that too, for encouragement for everybody as a whole is, you can only do you, right? So like if you make music and people start liking your music, it's like you can only do you, man.
Yeah.
And if people like you for you, that is the best position to be in, because you don't have to worry about brands, you don't have to worry about sponsorships, you don't have to worry about putting on this kind of fake face to sell. You can always be yourself. And then if you do release a product or you do release something, you can just be wholeheartedly behind it. Be like, this is the product that I've created. This is why I've created it. And this is why it's going to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how who the person is makes a lot of difference. People want to listen to artists that they've met, that they've connected with. It's just crazy to think about. I never really knew all this till recently, but, just by connecting with a producer or an artist that I look up to, or just it makes you think, I want to support this guy, or this girl. I want to be there for them because they were nice enough to shake my hand or whatever, give me a producer tip or something. And you want to work with who you make connections with,
Okay, so I got another question for you, and maybe the last question is to kind of wrap up. So you said that I remember like you did some traveling because you were going to work with an artist or something.
And so I went down to Mexico City recently and worked with a few artists, got in the studio with them. For the first time, I had some technical difficulties, which is really embarrassing. You learn, you learn as you go, you know?
Okay, no, you got to talk a little bit of what happened, because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a big time artist or anything. He's just, you know, he's a great artist. I don't really talk so much anymore. But basically, Mexico City, you've got a huge society of rappers, freestyle rappers, kind of old-fashioned 90s kind of, we call it native time, I guess you could say. Just a bunch of raw underground rappers in Mexico City. Each city has their own scene. Anyway, I went down there to work with him, and the mic, I think I just had a USB mic, so I couldn't get that up and running. We had all the gear. But for the remainder of the session, they were just freestyling, and I was just recording it for my Instagram, and it was cool. They liked my beats, and they got to test them out. They were really cool. So,
and where did you meet them? Where did you find out about them? Because
just by hanging around.
I was gonna say
just by hanging around these raw freestyle circles, which are just in public plazas in Mexico. It's crazy. Kids will just start a cipher. And some of these kids got, 20,000 followers, and they're there every day. It's crazy. It's like a sport.
Okay.
And a lot of things, are overseas that aren't here anymore. So, it was an experience. I worked with another guy after that, and that was a little more successful. We actually got to tracking and kind of putting his vocals, and he would actually help me give me tips. He was like, we're going to record my voice again. So it's like his double voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he was like recording just things he would kind of say over his own raps with the rhythm. It was just really creative. Ever since then, I was like, yeah, I think I can do this. And that was my last session. Since the pandemic, I haven't had another one, but it's been interesting. So I look forward to working with more artists. I think when a song has lyrics and a voice over it, I think it really comes to life. I haven't really experienced that with my own music, but I know that, when I hear a beat and then I hear it again with an artist on it, it's like a whole different song.
Totally different, 100% different.
The voice is like an instrument in itself. Sometimes when you're making beats just that are meant to be instrumentals, you make them so full, like you said, like your beat tapes, they're so full you don't leave any room for the rapper. So I went to these sessions. Well, I booked a session at a studio, and the guy's like, "This beat's just too full. Like, there's no room." So now I understand. Like, even if you gotta rap on it first or sing on it first, you gotta leave that room. Each instrument is its own frequency. You got the voice, the bass,
Mm-hmm.
You know about that.
Yeah, but then it also comes down to just, sometimes a beat can be full, but it's just knowing, how those instruments can kind of blend with the vocals and everything. Is there any advice that you want to pass on to somebody just getting started? And, would you recommend, lessons with me or like my courses to other people?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely recommend. I think your price is pretty reasonable for what you offer, very reasonable. And you're pretty gracious with your time. So yeah, I think you really need a mentor. If somebody's starting out in anything, anybody who wants progress, you got to have an external mentor, somebody who's better than you, can give you feedback, whether it's whatever area in life. So you need somebody. Let's get that established. And yeah, I look forward to doing more lessons with you. Well, I'm sorry, what was the second question? My advice is
just advice to someone starting out.
I'm not really in a position to give advice, in music. I haven't reached my dreams yet. But
I think you are, like, in a sense of, see, you've already passed the learning curve, and like I said, so with music, there's that threshold that you have to pass, and many people don't pass that threshold. Like, they might, download FL Studio, like the trial version, they might buy it, try it for 6 months, a year, and then done. They didn't pursue it. They didn't continue with it because of life,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And so you have pursued and you have passed the threshold, and music is now starting to become a part of your life, and it's started to become of like your weekly and daily routines, because you can't really be a producer if it's not. And so I do think that you have advice to give. And all I wanted to just say is like, when you're starting up, when you're trying to learn, figure things out, was there something that you wish you would have done differently? Like, for example, do you feel that you would have reached out for help sooner? Or do you feel that, stuff like that?
Yeah, probably more lessons. I don't want to just say that, but I really think that I should have done more lessons starting out, because I've kind of gotten in my own habit of doing things my way. Maybe it's not the right way, but you got to do things your way anyway. But apart from that, I would say I probably regret just slightly putting beats out as I was really getting started, because I would put beats out right when I got started, and I just go back and I'm like, wow, I really put this out. I really put this out for hundreds of my friends to listen to. I really told my family I was getting into music, or, basically I would say you got to keep your dreams close to your chest, because it's so easy to get discouraged. It almost gets to the point, where you just stay in the studio and you don't want to listen to anybody else. That's pretty dark, but I would say...
no, it's true, though.
I would say definitely, perfect your craft a little bit first.
Yeah.
You're putting beats out to the world, that's fine, nobody's going to listen, but at least it's out there. You're leaving something behind. You don't really have to push your music onto people until it's worthy of listening to.
Yeah, they can, and just to mention, especially with like the friends and the family, that's something that I do try to tell you guys is, make sure that you are ready before you, get your music out there. Because see, the thing is, like, so for someone like, if someone looks at me, like when I was in high school, man, I played piano. My mom put me in piano lessons when I was like 6 years old for like a year or two. And I begged them to quit. Like, piano was just like horrible to learn. It was so boring.
Wow.
And then I started making beats, and it was just like, man, this is pretty cool, right? But you want to make sure that, you are ready to kind of share your music. And, that might be a year, might be a year and a half before friends and family, before you share it to them. Because what happens is, if you're sharing it on Facebook or any social platform where these people who knew you before, and now you've jumped in with all this music knowledge, but they still look at you as who you were, right? And so if you are going to release your music to them, you do want it to be at a standard where they're like, wow, like, this is pretty good for only like a year.
Yeah.
But because when you first release it for the very first time, people are going to look at that, and you're going to get all your likes, you're going to get all like your retweets, whatever. You're going to get a lot of your commotion, a lot of your momentum right there. So it'd be nice that you already had maybe a brand name, you already had a logo, just like you are at right now. Like, your situation to share your music and share your stuff is a good place. But you have been doing this for how long, right? Yeah. Now, in the early stages, I always tell people, like, be careful if you share it, because if you do share it, now all your friends or whoever, when you release it, they're going to listen to this beat that, you've only been using FL Studio for a week, a month, and you're sharing this beat. And so they're going to get that impression from you. And then now when you try to release it more seriously, a year from now, they're going to still look at you from that first beat. So, it's important that when you release it for the very first time to these people who used to know you or friends and family, that you are a bit more prepared, because you're going to get way better results. And it's not going to feel so much like that kind of what that weird feeling, like you said earlier in this interview, when you were like, if someone asks you, what do you do for work? And you're like, oh, I do music. And then they start asking you about about different things. And it's just like, music sometimes doesn't work like that, where right off the hop, you're making tons of money. Even for myself, I've been doing this for like 10 years, and just finally I'm able to kind of do this full time. But it took me so long, and to the average person, they would have no idea how many hours and how much effort I've put in. Everything from learning a website and blogging to creating a video and editing it, putting it up on YouTube, creating a brand, learning about production, making the beat, the drum loop, the melodies, the mixing, the mastering, right? And it's overwhelming and it's tiring. But the awesome thing is, man, is as you start to get older and you continue doing it, it gets easier.
I think when you know when you're ready, I think you know when you're ready. Just assume your music's going to suck for a while and just don't put any big pressure on yourself. Keep things light, creative.
Well, so like I wouldn't really use the word suck, because I wouldn't say that your beat tape sucked. I wouldn't say that, right? I thought your beat tape was cool, but I thought that, from me being a producer and listening more critically, just in terms of maybe again, what I call audio painting, kind of preparing the listener, or I actually kind of forget the things I said in the email, but I do remember that it was mostly good stuff. And then this stuff, I think maybe they talked maybe about hi-hats. Maybe they sounded a little bit static, maybe adjust velocity a little bit with them, note nudge a little bit.
I mean, I double time all my beats just to put that out there. Maybe you guys aren't your native time, they know the difference between native time and double time.
Yeah. So what is double time? Because that's even new to me, that word.
Okay. So if you're making your beats with 70 BPM or 80 BPM, I put my beat at 140, usually about 130, 135 BPM. That way the hi-hats are hitting each other really fast. That's the trap sound.
Okay.
And you've modernized your music a little bit. A lot of the pop sound today and music in general, not all of it, but a lot of it is double time. So double your tempo, and you'll find a whole nother world. Your kicks will smack into each other. You can put things close together, a snare and another snare, and it'll just hit each other.
Okay, but I think the thing you were missing there is that you put your clap on the 3, right?
Okay, you're right. Yeah, that's a whole. You got to put. Maybe we could put on a video here, because if we're all using FL, it's really simple.
Okay, so the reason why I said that is because I'm pretty sure I'm following you. It might just be different terminology. But so, for example, you put the beat to 140 beats per minute, for example. It allows you to put your kicks and your hi-hats fast, as well as your melodies if you'd like to as well. And then your clap, I believe, goes on the 3, and that's what's kind of halving the tempo for the drum loop. But then all the melodies and all of the hi-hats and the drums, those are all at the faster tempo. But then you just slow down that clap.
I think you got it. I think we're speaking the same language. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that the proper terminology is double time. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's interesting, and that's good for me to know.
I still experiment with the native time, which is 80, 70 BPM for me, because you gotta be diversified. It's not just the hats. I think people say it's just the hats, but it gives it a completely different sound.
For sure.
And if you do a beat in native time and then you double time it after the melody's done and everything, you get a really strange result. So definitely experiment. For the hook, you could do it double time, then put it to native time, then put it back for the verse.
You don't ever mess in the 80s or the 90s for tempo, for beats per minute?
When I'm doing native time, yeah. If I want to cut it in two, that definitely, yeah. Especially for sample-based beats, kind of 90s. I hate that word, but sample-based, soulful hip-hop that I grew up with, Gangstar, that type of DJ Premier sound, that's native time. That's 80, 90 BPM. So I do that sometimes at night. If I've composed a beat, I've got my work done for the day, sometimes I'll just sample something and pull up a track, 80, 90 BPM. Because I love that sample, that vinyl sound. I got my vinyl turntable here. I barely use it now. I definitely experiment with a bunch of different tempos. I think sound design is really the one thing for new producers that is really, it's tough to learn.
Yeah.
You're not sampling. You gotta know your sound, know how to use those parameters. I know you specialize in that as well.
Little bit. For me, sound design is very hard. Learning.
Yeah,
it
like you said, it makes you tired. I think you said
it does.
Point.
It's very hard. It
sucks all the creative energy out of you, and it's a creative process too. But sometimes you want to design your sounds before you even make the beat. I think you should plug your chords in, get the notes right, and then
Sure.
change the
Yep.
sounds around.
Yeah, because you have something there that's playing. So when you hit play,
Yeah.
it's at least moving, and then
Yeah.
you can switch up your sound, no problem. And now it's like, oh yeah, I like that, or no, I don't like that. But but at least you have some foundation that's already flowing when you hit play. Like you already have a drum loop, you already have some chords, some melodies, a bit.
These synths, these Omnisphere, all these complex synths are really tough to figure out, and you got to allow time.
Yeah.
Don't assume you're going to master this in a week. It's
How do you
professional
like
stuff you're using.
Omnisphere? I've never used it.
It's amazing, but it's just really complicated. I'm still learning just the basics. And I use Contact too, and a couple other things. I've really invested a good amount of money in my music, so that'll keep you kind of motivated. If you buy these tools, you're going to learn them, I think, which sounds ridiculous, but
yeah, like a big thing is, you kind of want to learn your tools a little bit. Like I would say use the default FL Studio stuff for at least the first little bit. Learn how it all works.
Yeah.
But then when you upgrade to the third-party tools,
I've rushed into it a little soon,
but honestly, I think most people do.
The factory sounds aren't always what you want either, so you got to get additional libraries, and it never ends. So yeah, like you said, work with what you have for now. You can tweak a lot of stuff you don't even know about.
And also another thing to mention there too is I do feel that there's a limit to how many things that you buy. Like for example, no, you do not need 20 synths. Sure, it's nice to have, but the thing is, one, it's expensive. Two, you have to always carry those around with you. Like if you've, as soon as you've used a synth or a plugin in a project that you have released commercially, you have to make sure that you have that plugin or product always with you now, because if you want to load it up later on, whatever, it's like, you always need to have that tool in your arsenal.
Definitely.
So for example, sometimes, a company can go out of business, or, they start updating the actual plugin, and then, you used a way dated version, and like this can go for any tools. But the thing is, as long as you have selected your high quality tools that you're going to use, and you decide that, me as a producer, I like these tools and I'm going to use them, it's going to make that process a lot easier, because as you start to continue as a producer, it's like your tools, your projects, and you're good to go.
I didn't even think of a scenario like that. That'd be terrible. But there's nothing worse than opening a project and not having the files and things ready to go. So
the worst. And just to mention again, when you do work that full-time job and you're doing music on the side, you open up a project and missing files, or if you have to update plugins and you're like, you only have this hour and a half, 2 hours a night, let's say, to work on your music, and then all of a sudden you just wasted 20 minutes updating the plugin or trying to find those missing files. So yeah, man, that's why I actually created that one course, a specific music production folder, breaking down why you should create your own custom music folder, how to organize it, and if you follow it, you will have very, very minimal missing files. I think the biggest takeaway, man, is just to stay professional, because that's your brand, and a brand is extremely important to have a good name.
Yeah, there's a lot of crappy music out there. People need to put more thought into their beats. Just perfect your sound, make it 100% you. People are always using loops and everything these days, and that's controversial, right? Do what you want, right. But I think create your own sound from scratch is the best way.
Yep, 100%, man. Yeah, for sure. Construction kits are starting to even become more popular nowadays, and I don't understand why. Because as a producer, you want the one-shot samples, you want the single drums, you want the single snares, you want the all that stuff, and you as the producer, you want to be able to put all those pieces of the puzzle together to make your end product that you can say, yes, I took these sounds and I made a song.
For sure. Definitely. I don't want to romanticize it, but definitely be authentic, and your music is one of the best ways you can express yourself. So make it unique to you. You can use other people's work, but put your own spin on it. I think it's enough advice from a aspiring producer.
I think there was a lot of valid points there that's going to get people thinking, man.
Cool, bro. I hope so.
So
hopefully we can do this again. Let's check back in a maybe a year. Hopefully, it'd be cool to measure the progress a little bit.
Sure, man. My door's always open.
Well, man, this has been really fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and Khordon Blu, come on,
sure.
come on by anytime, man.
Yeah, check me out. We'll leave the links.
Yeah,
we'll try to leave that double time link too, right?
Sure, man. Yeah,
I'll get that up for you. Cool, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, awesome, dude. Thanks.
I'll talk to you soon.